The World Cup has 48 national teams, but the path for each country to get there was completely different. While some had an easy qualification, others had to survive brutal campaigns, and other countries only made it through penalty shootouts. So in this video, we're gonna go through each continent to see how every country got a place at this World Cup. Starting with the country that had the easiest path to qualify, New Zealand, who made it look like a training session. In Oceania, they landed in a group where the results were 3-0 against Haiti, 8-1 against Vanuatu, and 8-0 against Samoa. Since Australia doesn't play for Oceania, New Zealand only plays against small island nations. Then in the qualification semi-final, they crushed Fiji 7-0, and in a decisive match they faced New Caledonia, winning 3-0. That was 29 goals in 5 matches, and the toughest opponent they faced was ranked 151st in the world. It's almost unfair compared to the struggle other national teams we're gonna see had, and where things really got crazy was in Europe. Unlike Oceania, Europe took all the teams on the continent and split them into 12 groups, where the winner of each one got a spot. So in Group A, everyone expected Germany to qualify easily, but in the very first match, they lost 2-0 to Slovakia. Everyone was stunned. After that, Germany started winning their matches, but because of that defeat, they reached the final match day tied on points with Slovakia, and the last game was them facing each other. Slovakia had real chances of knocking Germany out, but still in the first half,
as Kimmich here is in the clear on the right hand side, it's a beautiful cross and Nick Voltemada heads into the corner.
That opened the floodgates. Germany scored 3 more goals before halftime and another 2 in the second half, securing their spot on the last match day. Now in UEFA's Group B, Switzerland fell with Slovenia, Kosovo and Sweden. It didn't look that easy, but Switzerland went all in, finished first without losing a single match, one of their best qualifications campaigns ever. Each time the stories only got crazier, from countries that had their worst qualifying campaign in history and even smaller teams that knocked out big national teams. However, the real madness in UEFA's qualifiers happened in Group C. The group was Denmark, Scotland, Greece and Belarus, and when the final match day arrived, the standings looked like this. Denmark with 11 points, Scotland with 10, and on the final match day they would face each other directly. The match was gonna be played in Glasgow, so the home side needed a win, and in just 3 minutes, McTominay scored with a bicycle kick. But Scotland's manager told the team to stay calm, it was far from over. And he was right, in the second half, Denmark equalized. But Scotland refused to give up, scoring another. Until in the 81st minute, Denmark equalized once again. The Danes were securing their spot, until it reached 90+3.
Ferguson's header given away, but it reached the tune.
After that, Scotland scored 1 more goal to seal the win. By 4-2, they surpassed Denmark and qualified for the World Cup. That was crazy. Meanwhile, in the next group, things were less chaotic. It was France in a group where they were the clear favorites, so they won 5 matches without losing a single one. No scars for them. But before we continue in UEFA, let's go to Asia. In Asia, they took the best national teams and divided them into 3 groups, where the top 2 from each one qualified. So in Group A, Taremi's Iran made an impressive run, 7 wins in 10 matches, securing a place at the World Cup. But while Iran is used to qualifying, competing for the other spot was Uzbekistan, who have players like Man City's Kuzanov, who had never qualified before. Nobody expected them to go far, but they surprised everyone. 6 wins, 3 draws and only 1 defeat in 10 games. It was enough to finish second and qualify for the World Cup. Then in the next group, South Korea completely dominated without losing a single match. But really surprising was the team that qualified behind South Korea. When the qualifiers started, it looked like this team had no chance. In their very first match, they drew with Kuwait. On top of that, the market value of the entire squad is only 19 million euros, which is lower than Luton Town from England's 3rd division. Then in the following matches, they had several setbacks, finishing with only 4 wins in 10 games. But even so, that was enough for Jordan to finish 1 point ahead of Iraq, becoming the World Cup team with the least valuable squad. Now Group C had even stronger teams, Japan, Australia and Saudi Arabia. But Japan showed their strength, 7-0 against China, 2-0 against Saudi Arabia, and they kept going until they won their 6th consecutive match to secure their spot. However, in that same group there was Australia, who had a disastrous start. In their first 6 matches, they had only managed 1 win. It looked like they would miss out on the World Cup. Until in the final games, Australia managed to get 4 straight wins, one of them against Japan with a goal at the 90th minute. With that, they climbed up to secure their qualification. 11 out of 48 teams qualified. And the stories only get crazier. Some teams absolutely dominated their group, while others only qualified in the final match day with help from VAR. But before we get into that, I want to show you a game I'm playing a lot right now, mini football. In one match, I ended up going to penalties against my opponent and only won 4-3 in a shootout. This is me scoring the winning goal. You know when the game is at halftime and you're just waiting for time to pass? Well, mini football is perfect for that. The matches are super intense, 90 seconds where you're passing, dribbling, shooting. Check out this long range goal I scored. This is my team. I've got a lot of rare players, and one I just unlocked from the hero category. I'm adding him to the lineup right now. Heroes are players that get stronger as you upgrade them. And with that, they also launched a brand new event called Hero Draft Tournament, where you build your team choosing one player per position, then compete in a knockout tournament against other people. I reached the final and only won thanks to a goal in extra time. There's also a unique shop event happening right now. If you collect 15 hero players during this World Cup period, you get in your team the most important player in the game, Lionel. Wonder who they got inspired by for that name. Mini-football is a game I'm addicted right now, for real. And if you click in the link in the description and create your account using the code POLYGLOT, you get a legendary player called Maple plus 100 coins from the World Cup event. I don't even have that legendary player myself, but you can. So to play, just click in the link in the description or scan this QR code right here. Now let's go back to the qualifiers. And there were still 2 more direct qualification spots available for Asia. So what they did was take the best teams that had not yet qualified and place them into 2 groups, where the winner of each one would get a spot. That's how Qatar landed in a group with the UAE and Oman, but it didn't start well. They drew with Oman, while the United Arab Emirates beat that same opponent. So on the final match day, it came down to a direct clash, where the UAE just needed a draw to qualify. But that's when Qatar stepped up.
Akram Afif with the cross into the box, and Boualem Houfik, the captain.
After that, they scored another header. By 2-1, Qatar secured their spot, becoming the first time ever they qualified on their own merit. Before that, they had only qualified as the hosts. Meanwhile, the next group had Saudi Arabia, who didn't have an easy path either. There, it was Iraq and Indonesia, where they beat Indonesia with difficulty and drew against Iraq, but only finished first because of the number of goals scored, leaving Iraq in second place. Iraq missed out on their qualification, but they still had a chance, and it was only through the Intercontinental Playoffs, where they fought for a World Cup spot against Bolivia. Both countries hadn't played in a World Cup for more than 3 decades, and Iraq came out flying, 1-0 in just 10 minutes. But soon after, Bolivia managed to equalize. Either team could win it, until...
Their night's just begun. For Farji, the 22-year-old, into the area, lofting across, hammered in by Hussein!
After that, no one scored again. By 2-1, Iraq became the last Asian country to qualify. But while almost everyone in Asia suffered, back in Europe, some teams turned the qualifiers into a training session. In UEFA's Group E, there was Spain, Turkey, Bulgaria, and Georgia with Kvaratskhelia. Spain were the favorites, but no one imagined how far they'd go. Right in the first match, they beat Bulgaria 3-0. Their toughest opponent would be Turkey, so they traveled to Istanbul with some tension. But in just 5 minutes,
Este es Pedri, Pedri con posibilidad de tiro, Pedri en la manga, el disparo!
Then Marino doubled the lead, and in the second half they destroyed the game, scoring the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Final score 6-0. Then came a 2-0 win over Georgia, a 4-0 win over Bulgaria, and another 4-0 win against Georgia. They dominated so much that Marino already had 6 goals in just 5 matches. Qualification was virtually secured, so they went into the last game against Turkey more relaxed and finished with a 2-2 draw. It was 5 wins, 21 goals scored, and only 2 conceded. Absolute domination. But one country that definitely didn't have an easy path was Portugal. Ronaldo's team were the favorites to win their group, which included Hungary, Ireland, and Armenia. So they started by beating Armenia, but against Hungary, Portugal suffered the first goal. Then they came back, conceded again, and only near the end did Cancelo score the winning goal, 3-2. Then they beat Ireland only thanks to a stoppage-time goal and drew with Hungary. And if things already looked difficult, when they traveled to face Ireland away, Portugal lost 2-0. It was such a disastrous match that Ronaldo was even sent off for violent conduct. So they reached the final match day needing a win to qualify. But they got lucky, their final match would be against the weakest team. So Portugal showed no mercy, 9-1. It was a tough qualification. Meanwhile, in Group G, the Netherlands finished first in the group that had Poland, and Austria finished first in their group, ending 2 points ahead of Bosnia. So far, most of the groups were evenly balanced, but then it came the next one. They had Norway and Italy. On paper, it looked competitive. Until the matches started. Norway beat Moldova 5-0, defeated Israel 4-2, and when they faced Italy...
Sørloth with a chance! Sørloth! And he's away from two. It's not like provided. It's Haaland! It's
3-0. Then, against the weak Estonia side, Norway only managed a small 1-0 win. But they were saving all their goals for the next match, where they almost made Moldova's keeper retire. In just 6 minutes, Norway scored the opener. Then Haaland made it 2, 3 and 4. After that, Odegaard scored the 5th, Haaland scored the 6th, and Osgaard added the 7th. Until Moldova pulled one back, but it was a known goal from Norway. The thrashing was already ridiculous, but in the final minutes, Osgaard scored the 8th, the 9th, Haaland added another one, and Osgaard scored once more, ending the match 11-1, becoming the second biggest win in UEFA Qualifiers history. After that, Norway didn't slow down, 5-0 against Israel and 4-1 against Estonia, until they reached the decisive match against Italy. The game was played at Milan Stadium, and Norway only needed a draw, but they went even further, winning by 4-1. 8 matches, 8 wins, and 37 goals scored. They made it look easier than New Zealand. But we're still gonna see even crazier qualification stories. And before we see how the last European countries qualified, let's head to South America, that has the most simple qualification format ever. 10 national teams in one group where everyone plays against each other and the top 6 qualify. In other words, more teams qualify than get eliminated. So reigning world champions Argentina dominated, 12 wins in 18 matches, finishing 9 points ahead of second place. Dominated so much that Messi finished as a qualifier's top scorer for the first time in his career. At the same time, Brazil had literally the worst qualification campaign in its history. Brazil were going through a rebuilding phase after the departure of their manager, but nobody expected how bad they would get. In the first 6 matches, it was only 2 wins, 1 draw against Venezuela and 3 defeats. Being the first time ever, Brazil lost 3 qualifying games in a row. So they fired the coach to hire another one called Dorival Jr., but he only lasted until Brazil lost 4-1 to Argentina. Until Carlo Ancelotti was finally announced, who secured Brazil qualification with a win over Paraguay, but then finished with a defeat against Bolivia. In 18 matches, Brazil ended with 8 wins, 4 draws and 6 defeats. As a comparison, in the World to Qatar 2022, Brazil had an unbeaten campaign. So as a Brazilian, I know how tough those 6 defeats were. The lucky thing is that most teams qualify, so Brazil still secured a place, finishing 5th place. In fact, aside from Argentina, every team won less than half of their games. The second best campaign belonged to Ecuador, followed by Colombia, Uruguay and then Paraguay, who finished with exactly the same number of points. But while South America has plenty of spots, North and Central America have never had as many countries in the World Cup as they do now. As you know, Canada, Mexico and the United States qualified automatically for being the host nations. But on top of that, 3 more spots were available for the smaller nations. And the country that couldn't let these opportunities slip away was Panama, who had failed to qualify in the previous World Cup. And to get there, they just needed to finish first ahead of Suriname, Guatemala and El Salvador. But Panama struggled a lot. They reached the last match day with only 2 wins and 3 draws, about to lose the spot to Suriname. Until in the final game, Suriname lost and Panama won, so they finished first in the group to secure their place. Now the next country only managed to qualify because of VAR. In the next group there was Curaçao, who started with a solid campaign, 3 wins and 2 draws. But when the final match day arrived, they were only 1 point ahead of Jamaica, and the last match would be against them. In other words, it was a clash for a direct spot. Curaçao only needed a draw, but the game was gonna be played in Jamaica. So the game started, and in the 16th minute, the ball fell for Jamaica to go 1-1, but Curaçao's keeper made an incredible save. Curaçao kept holding on, until in the last minute, penalty for Jamaica. The entire stadium celebrated what looked like a guaranteed spot, while Curaçao was watching their entire campaign slip away. But then the referee went to check VAR and cancelled the decision. So the match ended 0-0, and because of VAR, Curaçao qualified for the World Cup. But there was still one more Concacaf spot available, which would be decided in a group that included Costa Rica. Costa Rica were the overwhelming favorites, hoping to reach what could be Keylor Navas' final tournament. But then, when they faced Haiti, they drew 1 match and lost the other. After that, they saw Haiti beat Nicaragua in both matches and draw against Honduras. At the same time, Costa Rica was struggling against everyone. So Neva's team was eliminated while Haiti finished first to secure their World Cup spot. But that's nothing compared to the next continent, where 54 countries fought for only 9 direct spots. Africa. Africa has a lot of national teams, but the qualification format was pretty simple. They split everyone into 9 groups and the winner of each group qualified directly. Then in the first group there was Salah's Egypt, who had failed to qualify for the previous World Cup. But this time they went all in. In 10 matches it was 8 wins and 2 draws, finishing 5 points ahead of the second place. However, in the next group, things were much more tense. Senegal was there, so they were the big favorites, but they ended up drawing against some smaller nations and saw DR Congo surpass them. By matchday 8 of 10, Congo had 1 point more, and at that moment, the two teams faced each other. Congo just needed a draw, but they went further, making it 2-0 in the first half. But then Senegal pulled one back and Nicolas Jackson equalized. A draw would still keep Congo ahead, until right at the end,
Ce ballon, Sabali qui passe ce ballon,
Senegal completed the comeback and secured their World Cup spot, while Congo was sent to the playoffs. But even more dramatic was the next group, which featured Nigeria. Nigeria is one of Africa's strongest teams. On paper, they were the favorites, better than South Africa, better than Benin, but they simply couldn't dominate and suffered several setbacks. So when the final match day arrived, the standings looked like this. Benin were at the top with 17 points, South Africa had 15 points and Nigeria 14. And the final match day was South Africa versus Rwanda and Benin versus Nigeria. All 3 teams could still finish first. So Nigeria did their job, winning 4-0, knocking Benin out. Now all they needed was South Africa to slip up against Rwanda, but they pushed forward and won 3-0, climbing to 18 points to finish top of the group. Nigeria failed to qualify, while South Africa guaranteed their spot. But the biggest upset actually happened in Group D, which featured Cameroon. Cameroon had everything, with players from Europe's top leagues, such as United's DIMBO, Carlos Baleba, valued at 55 million euros, and many more. But Cape Verde had other plans. They started winning game after game, until they became level on points with Cameroon, and on matchday 8 of 10, the two faced each other directly. It was a match to decide who would go to the World Cup. Then Cape Verde managed to hold the score, and in the second half, their number 9 buried it. 1-0 to Cape Verde, and the celebration was crazy. They became group leaders and qualified for their first World Cup ever. But while that group was competitive, in the next one, Morocco was lucky to fall against super easy opponents. The best team there was Zambia, ranked 92nd in the world. So with Hakimi and Ziyech, they were unstoppable, winning every match, scoring 22 goals and conceding only 2. They basically used the qualifiers just to test their squad. But in the next group, things were much more tense. There was Gabon with Aubameyang, who at 36 years old had his last chance to take his country to the World Cup. To do that, they needed to finish first in a group that included the Ivory Coast, so they went all in, 8 wins in 10 matches. However, when they played the decisive match against the Ivory Coast, Gabon lost 1-0. So Gabon ended with just 1 point behind and the Ivory Coast qualified. Meanwhile, the last 3 groups were a complete one-team domination. Algeria cruised through their group, finishing 6 points ahead of Uganda. Then came Tunisia, who were even more dominant, ending 13 points ahead of second place, not conceding a single goal in the entire campaign. And in the following group, Ghana also had little trouble securing first place, finishing with a 6-point advantage at the top. So after that, 9 direct spots were secured. However, there was still one African country that could qualify, but only through the playoffs. And to decide the one to go to the playoff, they took the 4 best teams that had failed to qualify and created a knockout tournament. And that's when DR Congo surprised everyone. They beat Cameroon 1-0 and then defeated Nigeria on penalties. That sent them to the Intercontinental playoffs. Now they only needed to beat Jamaica to qualify. The game was played in Mexico and Congo started looking like the better team, but the goal just wouldn't come. So the match went to extra time. But when it looked like penalties were coming, Congo got a corner.
So it'll be an in-swinging ball towards the near post, sneaks through, it's in! Axel Tuanzebe!
After that, they only had to hold on to the score. With a 1-0 win, Congo got back to the World Cup after 52 years. But while Africa had a lot of surprises, over in Europe, one big team was in serious danger of missing out. Belgium. They landed in a group where the toughest opponent was Wales, so it was expected for them to beat everyone else and only compete with Wales. But when Belgium faced North Macedonia, they drew both matches, and on top of that, they drew with Kazakhstan. Now, if they lost even one match against Wales, they would be out. And when they faced them, it reached the second half at 3-3. Belgium was suffering until De Bruyne showed up to score the winning goal. But there was still one more match against Wales. If Belgium lost, they were out. To make matters worse, Belgium conceded the opening goal. At that moment, it was Wales qualifying. Until Belgium finally managed to equalize and turn the game around, sealing a 4-2 win. In the end, they qualified with just 2 points ahead. But while they struggled until the very end, England was just chilling. In their group, the toughest opponent was Serbia. But in the away match in Serbia, which was supposed to be the hardest one, they won 5-0. In the other teams, they got destroyed too. In 8 matches, England had 8 wins, scored 22 goals and conceded none, with Harry Kane averaging 1 goal every game. Simply incredible. Now the last team that could qualify directly and not through the playoffs was Croatia, where the true opponent was the Czech Republic, and they drew 0-0. But in every other game, Croatia killed it. 7 wins, 26 goals scored and only 4 conceded, qualifying with a 6-point advantage. So after all these teams secured their places, there were 4 European spots left to be filled, but that would only happen in the playoffs. It was 4 paths, with one team qualifying from each one, and that's when Sweden became a massive surprise. In fact, they shouldn't even have been there. Back in their original group, Sweden had an absolutely disastrous campaign. In 6 matches, they didn't win a single one, drew 2 and lost 4. Sweden had a worse campaign than Lithuania and Armenia. Even so, they reached the playoffs. Why? Because of their Nations League campaign, a completely different tournament. Go figure. So Sweden decided to play all the football they hadn't played before, and in the first match, they beat Ukraine 3-1 with a hat-trick from Gyökeres. Then they advanced to the decisive match against Poland, where the score was tied 2-2, until right at the end, Gyökeres scored the winner. With a 3-2 win, Sweden qualified for the World Cup. In the next path, there was Turkey with Arda Güler, who reached the playoff final to face Kosovo. A very small country, so it looked easy, but Kosovo kept holding them to a draw. Turkey started getting afraid of losing their spot, until in the second half,
There's options centrally here, Orkan Kökçü! Now did Actor Koglu touch it in?
with that goal, Turkey qualified for their first World Cup since 2002. But an even tougher path was the Czech Republic's. In the first playoff match, they faced Ireland, who started by beating the Czechs, until in the 86th minute, the Czech Republic equalized. That sent the game to penalties and their goalkeeper became a hero, saving twice. In a huge struggle, they reached the playoff final, where they now faced Denmark. Denmark were the favorites, but the Czech Republic scored first. Then Denmark equalized, it went to extra time and both teams scored, meaning it went to penalties again. And if the keeper had already been a hero before, now it was luck that played a role, because 2 Danish penalty takers missed. So after going through 2 penalty shootouts, the Czech Republic earned their first World Cup qualification in 20 years. But in the whole qualifiers, the biggest surprise came in the very last path. They had Wales, Italy and Bosnia. 6 months ago, Bosnia were 71st in the FIFA ranking. Even so, in their initial group, they finished just 2 points behind Austria. But in the playoffs, everyone expected them to be eliminated by Wales. But Bosnia managed to take the match to penalties and the keeper became a hero. With that, they reached the decisive match against Italy. Betting houses gave Italy more than 60% chance of winning. But Bosnia shocked everyone again. After being behind for the entire match, in the 79th minute, they equalized. So the match went to penalties, but on Italy's very first attempt,
And he blasts it over!
Meanwhile, Bosnia kept scoring all their penalties, until
And it's off the bar and stays out!
now everything was at the feet of a 21-year-old who calmly placed it into the corner. Just like that, Bosnia joined the other 47 teams in what is the biggest World Cup in history. So what did you think of this video? If you enjoyed this video, I think you're gonna like this one too. Thanks for watching and bye!